I want to preface this video by saying that this is not what I normally make. I usually don't make videos this serious, but given the topic of this situation and the severity of some of these allegations, this can't be what I normally do. I had another video planned to come back with that was a lot different from this, but by the time that this situation happened, I wasn't able to edit that in time, and so it got shelved. Given a lot of the aspects of this situation, I really do believe time is of the essence, so this will not be edited to the quality of my other videos just because I don't have the time. I wasn't able to record this video until the 3rd of January. I just got back from my apartment. I went home for the holidays and I wasn't able to film at home. So this is gonna be pretty tight. Originally, I wanted to talk about this on Twitter or TikTok, but as we will talk about a little bit later, there's been a lot of issues with developments and things happening off platform and it not making it back to YouTube. So this is a discussion meant for YouTube. So with that out of the way, let's talk. I will not be going over the Sabrina and Gus Johnson situation, nor will I be speculating on the situation. I wasn't even sure if I should make this video in the first place because it's not my place to comment and I don't want to drown out voices that should be heard, so I've just decided to leave it out completely. If you're not familiar with this situation, I would recommend you go and watch iNabber's video. I'm going to link it in the description and I'll throw up a card here as well. I probably pointed to the wrong direction, my apologies. He does a really good job covering it and he's also Sabrina's friend. And I just want to make it ultimately clear, I completely support his views and opinions on the situation that he had in that video. What I will be talking about today is Kuncan Dastner's video and some dangerous allegations and actions that have come from that video that I believe need to be called out. Before watching the video that we're talking about today, I had only seen bits and pieces of 1 or 2 of his videos, so I wasn't super familiar with his content, but I knew he had a large enough platform that if he were to talk about the situation, like he did, he would have the ability to generate some awareness. So when I saw that he was covering the situation, I was very happy because there had been a lack of people covering the situation, especially with big platforms. And overall, I thought his video was well done for the most part. He was more critical of Gus than in other videos I had watched, but I felt like all of his conclusions were logical. They were drawn from the evidence that we were given, but there were a few red flags that stuck out to me. There's 2 big red flags we're going to be talking about, and I'm going to divide them into 2 different parts. First, he made a big point to call out creators who hadn't talked about the situation or commented and named a few by name. Now, these people were friends of Gus. Before we go any further, I will insert a clip here.
I think what a lot of people were waiting for was a statement done by one of the larger figureheads of commentary on YouTube, specifically the ones who were known to interact with Gus personally. Curtis Connor, Jarvis Johnson, and Nick Is Not Green are all huge creators who have each collaborated with Gus in some capacity, and they were all considered to be friends by their audiences. However, neither of these people, to my knowledge, made any public statement on this situation.
My biggest problem is, like I said, they were friends of Gus, and if they were involved, we have no right to demand that they give a comment. As well, later in the video, Duncan goes and says the exact same thing, that close friends of Gus do not have to make a statement. They don't have to comment on the situation if they don't want to. Nick Is Not Green commented on the comments of this video. I will throw it up because I'm not going to read it out word by word, but he mentioned that he wasn't comfortable with giving a statement on the situation, and Duncan replied saying that he handled the situation well. I understand that by saying that bigger channels should be covering the situation, you're not just talking about people who were friends with Gus, but first of all, Gus had a lot of friends. He knew a lot of people, especially in the commentary community. Flip-flopping back and forth between big creators should be covering this situation with the undertone of even if you were friends with Gus to you don't have to comment about it if you're close friends with Gus felt a little jarring and it raised a red flag. And just as a little bit of a last-minute addition here, earlier today, someone had replied to a post on the Gus and Eddie podcast subreddit talking about Duncan's video, and they made a really good point that I wanted to share with you. They said that it didn't really make sense to target the channels, especially the ones that he named, because they aren't known for covering controversy or drama. They've covered a few things here and there, but when you look at what they're making now, it doesn't quite make sense. When you compare that to someone like iNabber, where that's what he does for content, it makes sense that he would cover that situation and add on top that he was friends with Sabrina. Well, I shouldn't say was, he is friends with Sabrina. I just thought that it was another thing that kind of added on to why that point felt odd to me. And secondly, the main reason why I felt like I needed to make this video is a portion where he theorizes about one of Sven's most recent sketches and the motives behind it. He starts off the section by dissecting Sven's sketch. For those who aren't familiar, it was a sketch about Sven having really, really bad ailments, and everyone was just playing it off as just a case of the Mondays. So he calls 911 and 911 says, "Oh, it's just a case of the Mondays." And this continues for 2 minutes. I would show the sketch, but it has been taken down, and we will talk about that later. And the reason why this was included is part of the reason why Gus had a lot of backlash is the first video that he decided to come back to was this sketch about some kid having a minor injury, but he was playing it up as this really, really big thing. You don't have to be Sherlock to read between the lines to see why that was problematic. Because both Sven and Gus's sketches involved medical stuff, Duncan draws the conclusion that it was an attack on Sabrina. A handful of people in his comments did say that if anything, this would be pro-Sabrina because it's making fun of how broken the medical system is, but because it dealt with medicine, he got labeled as pro-Gus in this video. And then Duncan goes as far to theorize that Gus was behind the sketch, that he was maybe working with Sven or he was ghostwriting it, and that Gus was one of the people on the phone in the video. First, I'll insert a clip of the allegations.
But I'm going to play this clip of the voice on the phone again, and I want you to see if it sounds familiar.
911, what's your emergency? Oh, sounds like he's got a case of the Mondays. 911, what's your emergency? Oh, sounds like he's got a case of the Mondays.
I have replayed that audio over and over for myself and with people who are familiar with Gus's content, and we can all agree that that sounds exactly like Gus. So why? Either Gus asked Sven to make this and he just said yes, or Sven made this video on his own without Gus and it's eerily similar, or Sven and Gus both worked together to make this video and add to their version of the story. I don't know. Either way does not make any sense to me.
And before I go any further, I would like to just mention that he does say at the beginning of this section that the allegations are purely just theories, but the way he talks about it, the statement feels hollow. Now, the Gus on the phone thing is something that I do want to take a minute to talk about. On the Gus and Eddie podcast, there was this running comment that the Johnsons all sound very similar. Thor, Sven, Gus, they all sound very the same. I will try to find a clip of the two of them talking.
Rapper.
I'm always spitting rhymes because I am a fucking rapper.
That's the thing. We start the podcast and it's, we don't do official intros. This is raw.
It's casual. It's cash money. It's candid.
And I'll also try to find a clip of Sven talking on the phone because when he phones in on the podcast, honestly, the two sound identical. To make such a shot-in-the-dark claim, when this video is supposed to be shining a light on information and sharing information because you have a platform, it feels wrong. It feels insensitive, almost like gossiping, and it's taking away from sticking to the facts, and honestly, it's taking away from what we should be focusing on. Now, I do want to say that I, like many other people, were unsure of where the Johnson family stood on this situation. Duncan made a good point that I do agree with, that people involved or related to people involved shouldn't feel the need to comment. They don't owe us anything. But since the two were brothers, a lot of people started to wonder whether or not Sven was clean. Sven started receiving backlash for this sketch, the Case the Monday sketch that we were talking about, and he ended up taking it down. I don't know when Sven's video came out because I never got the chance to see it. I assume the majority of the backlash came after Duncan's video went up, which was 11 days ago as of recording. Sven put out a statement on Instagram and Twitter 5 days ago as of recording, stating that while the video had been in his drafts for a while, first of all, he wasn't ghostwriting or having his stuff ghostwritten by Gus, nor was it Gus on the phone. He also made a point to say that this was not an attack on Sabrina, and if anything, this was, again, pro-Sabrina and anti-medical system. That feels weird to say. It was making fun of the medical system. I'm not sure how much of his statement I'm going to put into this video because it is about 3 minutes long, but I will be linking all of that stuff into the description below. I highly do recommend to go and watch it on your own time. feel free to pause because it adds a lot to the situation.
I saw a few comments right away saying that it was an attack about the whole ectopic pregnancy situation that some of you may be aware of. And I just want to say right away that was never the case. This was a video that has been sitting in my drafts for months, long before anything happened. That's just how my video ideas work. They sit in my drafts in my phone for a while, and then maybe one day I'll pick them like the claw in Toy Story, picking one of those little green aliens. I thought it was kind of a stretch at first, to be honest. I saw a few people commenting, like, this is clearly an attack. So I was like, no. I was grateful to see a few people in support of me saying, like, if this is an attack at anyone, isn't it at doctors who misdiagnose people? Which logically makes sense to me, but again, this was never to be any sort of statement on any of this. I was disappointed to see a few people, especially lately, take some pretty artistic liberties with their interpretation of the video, saying that like maybe Gus was the voice of the doctor on the phone, or Gus is probably shadow producing all of Gus or Sven's content. And that is not, no, nobody is doing that. That is not the case. There is no concerted attack at anyone in any of this.
What caught my interest is that he specifically mentioned that it wasn't Gus on the phone and it wasn't Gus ghostwriting. Because what I had seen, again, I hadn't watched the video, so I didn't get to look through the comments, and I wasn't really staying on Twitter all that much during that time frame. But I didn't see on Reddit, I didn't see anything on Twitter, and I didn't see anything on Instagram of people discussing those allegations. So I assume the majority of people who were saying that said it after Duncan uploaded his video. I would like to mention, though, that I do not know for certain. After Sven's statement went up, Duncan made a community post on YouTube about the recent developments, which I'll read out for you now. So it says here, update, hi guys, Sven Johnson posted a response on Twitter about taking down his My Diagnosis video, which was the name of the sketch, where he explains that this was in his drafts for a while, that it was insensitive timing, that kind of stuff. It goes on and on and on here. You can pause to read it. And at the bottom here, it says, while he does call the assumption hateful, I do think that it's important for you all to hear his side of the story. I'm including a link to the tweet here. He includes a screenshot, and then he also links to the comment. He also went and pinned that community post, or at least a link to that community post, on his original video. I do feel that it insinuates that his statement was directly at Duncan, calling him out, even though that Sven said that it was a few people. Just something I thought I would add. Not long after Sven put out his statement, Sabrina quote tweeted saying that the joke was funny and that the video should still be up. Compared to the tone that Sabrina used when she was tweeting about Gus, Sven is pretty much good in her books as far as we can tell. After Sabrina quote tweeted, Duncan chose not to include that information in a new community post, editing his old community post, even though he has already edited it before. You can see it just says edited on the top. And he did have a pinned comment on his community post, and as well as his YouTube video, which I'll read out for you. This is the pinned comment on his community post. It says here, I pinned this exact post in the comments of the video. Please remember to not attack Sven in any reply/post of your own. The section in my video concerning him was based purely on speculation, and if it's true that he had no bad intentions, I don't want people saying he's just as bad as Gus, which I saw some people saying. It's good to remind people not to attack people in this situation. I feel like everybody needs that reminder every now and then, especially with something as heated as this, but it is so easy to put something in, even 2 sentences, about what Sabrina said. To make things worse, there are a lot of people. I won't be editing that stuff in, just the essence of time, but I do recommend that if you are interested to look through the comments yourself on both the community post and the video. There are a lot of people who are attacking Sven and even just criticizing him in general if they aren't attacking him, of just saying that it was insensitive, that the timing was wrong, that Sabrina would have hated it, when if there had been even a little bit of an update about what Sabrina said, I highly doubt those people would be making the same assumptions and have the same idea of Sven at this moment. One thing I would like to add, though, is the comments on both pinned comments are pretty much just calling Duncan out. I'm going to be reading through Ryan Mietta's comments. I don't know if I pronounced your name right. Apologies if I didn't. I just thought that he phrased things a lot better than I could, and I'll also throw in some of the newer comments that I saw over the past 2-ish days. So the first comment reads, As you're not someone directly involved in this, you should edit out the parts of your video with your speculation. Sabrina directly said on several platforms that she thought the video was funny and not to harass Sven and to leave him a nice comment and subscribe. By leaving your speculation in, you are spreading harmful misinformation, especially to someone who doesn't deserve it. It is an extremely poor taste to leave this in, and it comes across as you're taking advantage of what Sabrina endured. If that is not the case, there shouldn't be any issue with you removing it with your speculation about Sven. I do not like Gus at all after what he did, but Sven isn't Gus, and he doesn't deserve to be dragged into this. Now, Duncan did reply to this comment. That's a whole other can of worms we're going to talk about a little bit later. Denise Bees replied, "You literally attacked him with hateful speech." Someone replied in support of Duncan, saying that he clarifies again that this is just speculation, where Ryan replies, "Did he edit the video to include this, or did he just pin a comment? There are many people who will view this and not read the comments. There are many people who don't know what happened outside of what Duncan has said. His video including speculation that the people who are actually involved in this situation have already proven this basically false, and by keeping it up, it is very harmful." He also adds in a thing that he might have been using this for views and monetization, which I think is another thing to add in here. On the pinned comment on the video, someone mentioned that they think that the clip should be edited out and that it shouldn't still be there. A lot of people just saying that they're happy to see the update. Jaden Levine said a lot of the same things as Ryan. I'll read out part of it here for you. "I think that it is completely valid for Sven to view your assumptions as hateful. I do not think your analysis of his video is nearly as neutral as you think it is. No matter how many disclaimers were given, its inclusion in your video opened the doors for people to harass him. I feel that was not really a solid reason to drag him into your video in the first place. So to rather condescendingly dismiss this as fair criticism against you rubs me the wrong way. I like to give people the benefit of the doubt, so I would say that there is absolutely no reason to assume that Sven meant ill with his video, and as such, there's no reason for you to have it remain in your video either." And then asking for it to be clipped out of their video. And the reason why I put this in is because I couldn't have said it better myself. I honestly have nothing else to add. This is exactly what I was thinking, and facts. There are more comments you can go and look through, but those are just the ones that I'd like to point out. My biggest problem is now that new information has come up, he made absolutely no effort to add that in. It makes it seem like Duncan only made this video because he would be one of the only people with a big platform talking about this situation. Now, I'm not saying that's why he did it. That's just what it looks like from an outsider opinion. And as I mentioned, he was replying to some comments. Now, one of those got deleted, which was, how do I put this, extra disappointing. But I was able to screenshot it before it got deleted, and I will read those replies out to you now. So there was one person who replied to the pinned comment in the community post and was basically just saying the same thing, that it was a bad take, that it should be taken out. Now, just looking at the comments here from what I've screenshot, I can't seem to see what he's referring to with this statement. I just know that he's replying to the overall negativity in the comment, but it was valid negativity. Duncan says, "Aw, you'll be thinking about me in the future? I love my fans." Also, the person who he was replying to completely inspired the title for this. I had no idea what to name it, so thank you, RF. He replied to another person just basically saying that by assuming when he said that it was hateful comments, that it wasn't just Duncan, and that, again, Duncan shouldn't have brought Sven into this, especially knowing what we know now. Duncan replies, "I think it's fair to say that I presumed, especially since all he said was the accusations, but I was the only content creator I had seen bringing up his involvement, and I was aware of some of the comments mentioning me by name. However, I do believe there was enough there to warrant including in this video at the time. And by you saying it was based off of nothing, basically just making the assumptions that he did with the theories, is baseless considering the motive, the timing, and the involvement." Another reply was just someone saying that it was hateful to say that. He says here, "Can you point out in the video where I said any words that were hateful, like actually hateful, not just something you don't want to hear?" And the last one that I'll mention is a reply to Ryan. He says, "As it turns out, I'm allowed to think what I want, and you actually can't influence what happens in my own video." His replies tell me all I need to know about how he's handling this situation. He is taking all of the negative stuff that is coming in, all of the suggestions for change, all of the criticism, and he is ignoring it. He's not backing down. He's playing down all of this criticism when he's supposed to be sharing information about a serious situation that very few people are talking about. Luckily, I'm not the only one. There are a lot of people calling him out in the comments for acting like that, some that I have already mentioned. Again, if you want to look through this on your own time, I recommend you do. I will be linking both the community post and Duncan's original video in the comments. I don't want to send hate to anyone. That is not my intention here. But I believe that when something is wrong, you should call it out and propose change. I believe that the speculation portion of the video should be completely cut out. It shouldn't be there anymore. And I believe that it should be made incredibly, incredibly clear. I'm not asking for a re-upload with extra information, a pinned comment even, to specify that with Sven's apology, Sabrina has supported him and that he's cleared in Sabrina's books. That was one thing about the pinned comment. It was gone, but then was also back for a little bit. I don't know if that was like a glitch on the video, but that was just something that I took screenshots of, but now it seems to be back and it seems to be fine. Personally, I don't think the portion calling out Gus's friends and other commentary channels should still be in either. People like Nick and Mr. Beard chose to comment on that situation, clarifying what they have done to, I guess, help in this situation and where they stand on things, but they shouldn't have been forced to do that in the first place, and I believe that this video kind of did. I can only imagine what the building pressure feels like for close friends of Gus who have those bigger channels, especially the ones that were called out by name. He does make a very, very adamant point at the end of the video that friends of Gus shouldn't have to put a statement out about where they stand on this, but saying it period makes it so much worse. Trust me, as someone with anxiety, I can tell you that. At the end of the day, I can't tell people what to do. I can only suggest things, and I really do want to spark a discussion here. I'm really hoping that this video does get seen by the target audience, and that hopefully some kind of conclusion can be found that is good for all parties. I also hope I didn't overstep any boundaries by making this video. If I did, I will make sure to take swift action to rectify the situation as best as possible. I would like to make it very, very clear that I am happy that someone with a bigger platform was talking about this situation. However, I believe that when it comes to covering such a serious situation that so few people are talking about, especially when you're one of the largest creators talking about it, it's irresponsible to make these not really based claims. And I mean, it's fine to have theories. I think that, yeah, it was valid. It kind of sounded like Gus. I just don't believe that this was the time or place to bring that up. And I do believe, again, that it was valid to bring up that few people have been talking about the situation, but to call creators out by name, again, this wasn't the place. We can't force anyone to cover this, especially when they were close with Gus. When talking about something as heavy and serious as this, it's best to just stick to the facts. I hope this video made sense and that it brought to light some issues that I found. I'm not looking to attack anyone, pick a fight, start any beef, which honestly is quite silly to talk about when we're thinking about where this stemmed from, this situation. I just want to create a discussion and hopefully have some change happen. I'm really hoping that this hits some kind of algorithm right, because if the past few days have shown us anything, comments aren't working. Anyways, I think that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about today. Cheers.